DeAndre Ayton. Matt Weiner from NBA TV dubbing it the Valley Oop, which immediately got the stamp of approval from the team itself. That gave the Suns a 2-0 lead in the series as it moves to Los Angeles
and
tonight.
Paul George is asking for goaltending.
Welcome back to the gym. I mean, honestly, DeAndre Ayton said that he didn't know the rule on that. So a lot of players on the floor did not know the rule.
DeAndre Ayton's been playing for 12 minutes. He's been playing basketball.
I am just saying that the guy who scored the bucket said that he was worried about goaltending
Instead of Paul George asking for goaltending, he should have been worried about knocking down those free throws.
Well, look, he has played. He has played fantastic for a while now, and that was an unfortunate moment, and we've seen that before. Welcome back to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols, joined by Richard Jefferson, Kendrick Perkins, our senior insider. Adrian Wojnarowski is going to join us in just a moment to talk coaches, but I do want to get to that Suns-Clippers game first. Chris Paul is available for the game tonight. Well, he is planning on playing after missing the first 2 games, of course, to those health and safety protocols. Kawhi Leonard still listed as out for this game. Ty Lue has said he just has to plan as if Kawhi will not be with them the whole series. Perk, the Clippers have come back from down 2-0 twice already in this postseason. No team has ever done that before. How can they do it again?
They can. They can. Not against this Phoenix Suns team. And Chris Paul coming back. And here's the reason why, right? We all know that Ty Lue is one of the best, if not the best in the game today for his coaches and making adjustments. But guess what? He has another coaching staff over there that's ready to play chess as well. But they don't have an answer. Look, we already know that Devin Booker and Cameron Payne has been in their bag like they got fries at the bottom, okay? But DeAndre Ayton is the X factor, and I don't know how can they neutralize him. They haven't played against a bag like him, against a guy like him in the playoffs, right? You have Jokic, but Jokic is not athletic. Jokic can't sprint the floor. Jokic is not a lob threat. And the way that DeAndre Ayton has been anchoring the defense, I just don't know. He's averaging 22 and 11 and shooting almost 100% from the field.
Yeah, 100% from the field is a tough one to overcome. I agree with you, Perk. Look, the problem is that they weren't far off. The Clippers were not far off from winning this game.
No, they were in both of those games.
Yeah, they were mistakes away from winning this game, which obviously in the postseason comes back to haunt you. But I just think that the Clippers, obviously Game 3 is going to be very, very important. It's all about a chess match, but you can't do chess matches on missed free throws. You can't do chess matches on missed assignments. They put them in the position. Paul George played great. For 47 minutes of that game, he played outstanding. But to be a true closer where you got your Nike shoe, you got all the love, you are all everything, that is the moment to close. Now, I'm not going to fault you, but Game 3, there's going to be a lot of eyes.
Look, people have missed free throws in the history of big pressure finals games. I'm not ready to single Paul George out for those 2 missed free throws as a crime against humanity.
Yeah, for Clipper humanity it is. When you're shorthanded, you have a chance to win, and it's like you have a chance to knock down these free throws and put your chance in a position where imagine even having 2 or 3 points on that board, that defense becomes exponentially easier for you. So you put your best players in a position to succeed, and if they don't, they get all the credit and all the blame. We've played with enough guys that lived in that world.
Rachel, RJ, I got a question for you guys, right?
Save your questions till the end.
Going into this series, without Chris Paul, the first 2 games, everyone, including myself, was saying, you know what? I think that the Clippers should get 1 on the road, if not 2, especially without CP3. CP3 comes back tonight. You know what that does for that locker room of young guys? You know what type of mission CP3 is going to be on tonight? He makes a total difference.
I'm excited.
If you're the Clippers, if you couldn't beat this young team without Chris Paul, how am I expecting you to beat them with Chris Paul?
Well, here's what's tough, right? To RJ's point, Ty Lue has come back from these 0-2 deficits twice, and we're going to talk about this a little more later in the show with all of the adjustments he's made, right? He has proven once again why he is an elite X and O coach. That being said, they didn't lose because of an adjustment issue because the adjustment wasn't made. They lost because of free throws that didn't go in, and then, frankly, some missed defensive assignments in that last play there. When you go break down that last play, there are some things where guys were not where they were supposed to be and doing what they were supposed to be doing. I don't know how you fix that. And you're right, Perk, the idea that they couldn't at least try to steal one with Chris Paul not there. It's going to get harder with Chris Paul there. So it will be interesting to see what they come back with. But this is a team that has proven to us over and over, the Clippers, this postseason, you cannot count them out just because they are down by a couple games. You just can't. So there you go. I want to get to the coaching carousel because it continues to spin, baby. We're still working on getting Teresa Witherspoon on this coaching carousel. I'm going to have a little chat with our graphics department on that one. But yesterday, the Celtics agreed to hire Nets assistant Ime Udoka as their next coach. Prior to his role as an assistant for Steve Nash this season, Udoka spent 1 season with the Sixers, 7 years under Greg Popovich with the Spurs. Then today, Rick Carlisle told our Tim McMahon he has agreed to a 4-year deal to become the next coach of the Indiana Pacers. The deal worth $29 million plus incentives, sources said. That leaves 5 head coach vacancies at the moment. And now joining us to discuss all matters of coaching vacancies, our senior insider, Adrian Wojnarowski. So glad to actually have you in the building, my friend. This is lovely after a year and a half. What can you tell us about the hires both in Boston and in Indiana?
Well, Ime Udoka, I think the relationships and the kind of players he had coached in San Antonio, Kawhi Leonard certainly on the back end of it, Philadelphia, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and then in Brooklyn with the group they had this year. Experience not just coaching elite players, but building relationships with them. He's going to have to do that in Boston, certainly with Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. He's got 2 All-Stars under 25 years old. And, I think Brad Stevens really liked the varied experiences he's had, 3 different organizations, obviously played in the league. But I think for that process, Boston was really a job that I think everybody who was in the candidate market looked at that Boston job and saw, were really excited about it, especially because of the great young talent they had there. But Udoka separated himself early in that process, and he was certainly a popular choice among their key players who had played under him with Team USA, with Greg Popovich in the Worlds in 2019. 3 of their returning players, all had a lot of great things to say about him.
What do you think, former Boston Celtic, of the hire?
You know what? I actually love it.
What?
To be honest, yeah, I actually love it, and here's why. Right, when you look at Udoka and you look at what all he has done with his playing career, playing with Hall of Famers like Tim Duncan, and then going into his coaching career, being the assistant of one of the greatest of all time, and Greg Popovich. So my thing is, it's all about managing egos, right? And you have 2 young rising superstars in my eyes, and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. That's your focal point. And you got to bring a guy in there that they can relate to. And I feel like that's a perfect fit to me because he's a guy that's going to go in there. He's going to be able to hold them accountable. They have to respect him because he's been around greats. He's coached greats. He's played with greats. There's nothing you could tell him.
What I like about this is when you bring in coaches that have learned how to build relationships with great players, but for themselves, they are more role players. It allows them to connect with the guys. Like, these are the sacrifices that I'm asking of you because they've been asked of me before. You look at Tyronn Lue. He's been on that side, played with great players, but was also a role player. Monty Williams played with great players, but was also a role player. Because as much as it is reaching your stars, we saw that with the Clippers last year. They were like, well, the role players versus the star treatment and a lot of that back and forth. You got to be able to connect not just with the star players, and he has that ability, but also to connect with the rest of the team, making sure they're understanding why you sacrifice.
It's going to be really fascinating to see everything that happens with that Celtics team, right? First time for Brad Stevens in the front office. I do want to get to Indiana, though.
Right.
I asked producer Steve today for some video of young Rick Carlisle in his first stint as head coach of the Pacers, but the hair was different, all of that stuff. I don't know if we'll see that in a minute, but there we go. Look at that. Young Rick.
Nice little coif right there.
Right? So nice.
That's what happens with coaching in the NBA will do to you.
You will, yes. How did Rick end up back where he once began, as you say?
Yeah, this was, I talked to Kevin Pritchard, their president, today, and just knowing that day one, Rick Carlisle commands respect in that organization, and it brings respect back to the head coaching position because they lost it this year with Nate Borkman after they let go of Nate McMillan the year before. And I think for Indiana, a roster that is a good roster. Is this a championship roster? No. But is this a roster that you can see winning around in Eastern Conference playoffs with the right coach? Yes. And I think, Kevin Pritchard, he still leans on Larry Bird and Donnie Walsh and those guys who were there in the front office prior to him and still kind of serve as consultants. They were all for this, and Herb Simon, their owner, who had Rick in there previously. And I think especially, and then it's $7 million a year. I think $7 million plus, as Tim McMahon reported. think it's Indiana's message that we're serious. We are trying to win. And listen, Rick Carlisle is probably, good chance he might be a Hall of Fame coach someday. He's won a championship. There weren't really any coaches out in the marketplace with that pedigree. And when Rick wanted to come back, they worked here in the last few days to get this done.
Now, Rick, at the end of that interview with Tim McMahon, said that he hopes Jason Kidd gets the Dallas job that he just vacated. I know that Portland is also a hot coaching spot. What do you think of where they may end up in their coaching search, and what's going to happen in Dallas as well?
Well, Mark Cuban says he's going to hire a president, general manager first, and then do a coaching search. I'm not sure they're going to take Rick Carlisle's advice on who the next coach is there. I think they might like to talk to Luka Doncic, see how he feels.
Right.
Certainly internally about Jamal Mosley, who's going to be a candidate for this job. Portland, they've done second interviews now with Chauncey Billups, Mike D'Antoni, Becky Hammon on Monday. And so I think more so than the other job openings, I think Portland's probably closer to getting to a potential decision. But I think certainly Mike D'Antoni, Chauncey Billups figure prominently in that search, and Becky Hammon.
This, by the way, is an amazing graphic because it's like player, star, star, star for the Magic.
2 first-round picks.
2 picks. That's what they've got going on. Absolutely. Well, I'm going to keep campaigning for Teresa Witherspoon for the New Orleans job. I will be happy to be on my own island there, but I don't think I am. Woj, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. We'll see you throughout the rest of the Western Conference Finals and the NBA Finals as well. All right, guys, coming up, Steve Kerr says Kevin Durant is, quote, more gifted than Michael Jordan, which is saying something since Kerr played